Well, welcome everyone. Here we are in AltspaceVr. My name is Sam Sprigg. I am the managing editor of Organics, which is a news and intelligence website for the AR/VR industry. Here I am with Navjeet, CEO of Genius Ventures. Nav, how are you?
Hey, Sam. I'm doing very well.
Good.
And
I mean,
yourself?
good. I'm very good as well. It's good to finally meet you in VR, I guess. With everything going on, this is kind of the only place we really can meet. But yeah, no, it's great. Tell me a little bit about Genius Ventures. Like, tell me about yourself. What is it you guys do?
I run an AR, VR, XR company called Genius Ventures. We basically create end-to-end custom solutions in the AR, VR space. Solutions that integrate multiple technologies such as augmented reality, virtual reality, artificial intelligence, machine learning, 5G, and we create custom end-to-end applications for some of the world's top brands.
Nice. So the reason we're meeting actually today is for the Global HR Summit. So how is Genius Ventures? How are you guys involved in that? What is it you've done to help deliver this summit this year? Because of course it's happening entirely in virtual reality, which is a pretty achievement. So again, tell us a little bit about that. How's that worked for you? How's that process been, and what have you had to do to make it a reality?
Yeah, so it's quite an interesting story. I run Genius Ventures. My business partner Alfred, he started this company with me with the belief that immersive technologies could really connect people together. And for us, it's been all about that since the beginning. And we have a lot of great clients in the marketing space and the supply chain space, but we really did want to get a bit further into showing how human connection can be formed with augmented reality and virtual reality. And we had a chance to meet a gentleman named Matt Burns, who runs a company called Bento HR, and he was talking about how work was broken and some certain things in the corporate world need to be fixed. And we just had to talk about what immersive technology such as AR and VR can do for human resources and what it can do for remote training and collaboration. And this chat happened just after COVID started, and we started talking about what virtual reality could do for an entire conference. So that spun up the idea of the Global HR Summit. um, we got to working. We started talking with Altspace, and they said they'd provide the infrastructure for us to throw a large scale event like this. We started talking to educators in VR who said they'd help support us in putting this event on. And so we basically got to it. We started talking to a lot of our colleagues, um, a lot of leaders from Fortune 500 companies and leaders in the HR space, as well as leaders in the XR industry, including Tom Furness, the grandfather of VR, who's the opening keynote, and gentlemen such as Tom Emmerich, who's the VP at Eighth Wall as well, speaking on a lot of great topics surrounding augmented reality and virtual reality and how that ties in with human resources. So, been quite an interesting journey. We have 57 speakers in virtual reality speaking from different parts of the world, all in their own living rooms. 50 of them never having spoken in virtual reality. So it's a
Oh,
lot of firsts happening at this summit. Yes.
nice. I actually saw I was in the meetup you guys did earlier this week or last week, and Matt mentioned that of those 50 people, yeah, you've actually sent them all a headset, right? These guys have they've never owned a headset, so Genius Ventures has had to send them um, their own headset in order to attend the conference, in order to do their speeches. So how did that work? Like I mean, that's all on behalf of Genius Ventures, I guess. Like again, tell us a bit about that. How's the reception been to these people who have never experienced VR?
Yeah, it's been good. So that was a collaboration once again between Ventures and Bento HR. So it's been great. So we learned a lot about logistics in this summit about especially how fast things come on Amazon or Best Buy in a post-COVID world. So the first conference we had to postpone, but it was kind of a blessing in disguise in the end of it, as a lot of the speakers had ordered their headsets off Amazon and Best Buy, and how busy all the shipping companies are right now. So
Yeah.
they're supposed to get their headsets 2 weeks before they actually arrived. But it's been great from sending everybody headsets, learning about the the postal system in Canada and the States and the UK. And then
Yeah.
one of the most exciting parts has been unboxing these headsets with a few of the speakers, and even from like opening up the box and to like putting their headset on for the first time to
Yeah.
connecting to the internet. It's just been a great experience, just really guiding people along and showing them how it's done. And I feel like it creates a real bond between yourself and the person that you're helping in VR for the first time. It's like I'll always remember who helped me ride my bike for the first time, right? And so
Sure.
I believe it's that same sort of bond that you develop in VR as well when you're helping someone get into VR for the first time.
And this was all Oculus Quest they either bought or were sent. Yeah.
Yeah, for the most part, it was Oculus Quest that were sent for this summit.
Good. So that's what I'm on now. And one of the coolest things I find about the Quest is when I show my friends and people who've never used VR, never experienced it, the first thing I show them is the Quest, like the setup simulation. So you've got the little room with the table, and you can pick up the planes and throw everything. And I think that for me is just it, seeing their expression. I mean, you can only see their smiles, obviously, but seeing just how they are perceiving this whole thing and how new it is for them. To me, that's really cool. So hopefully, these 50 speakers who have got their brand new Quest headsets, this is really gonna open their eyes to, to how kind of amazing this tech is gonna be.
Exactly, exactly. A lot of them have been very excited. A few of them are have reached back out to us to start figuring out how to deploy these technologies within their organizations and custom enterprise solutions using VR. So it's been quite exciting. Within a few days of them speaking in VR or learning VR for the first time, they're starting to explore what can be done with VR, especially for the workplace. And this is what the conference is all about. It's one is showcasing these technologies and how they can be deployed in the workplace, but also really giving people an introduction to these technologies. Like, what is augmented reality? What is virtual reality? What's the difference between the two, right? And so it's a lot of content around knowledge of the industry, plus how that knowledge can be taken and what are the action steps that we can take to actually put these technologies in the workplace.
So when you guys help companies implement these technologies, what what sort of industries do you work with? Like, who's your target market? Is it varied? Like, where do you mainly kind of see the work coming from?
So we've done a lot of work in real estate. So one of the things we've done is there's a few major companies that are building cities in the next 5 years. So one of our major projects was recreating a city in augmented reality and virtual reality years before it's built, so
Wow.
that the stakeholders can walk around the city years before it's built and start investing and buying property in that city. So that's one of the projects. Some of the other projects that we've done is bringing products onto your table or bringing physical goods into your setting without being able to go to a store. So we did a project for Adidas slash WSS where on Snapchat you were able to bring an Adidas shoe up by scanning a snap code, and the shoe comes up and it's hovering in front of you, and then a coupon comes up. You snap a screenshot, you take that coupon to the cashier, and now you have 10% off your Adidas Superstar shoe. So that was launched for the Adidas Superstar 50th anniversary campaign. And then we had another project for a company that's a partner of Louis Vuitton's, where you're able to put a Louis Vuitton purse on your table in its highest quality. So it's 99.9% real. So you can see
Right.
what this purse looks like and turn it around and examine it and play with it before ever stepping into the store. And then we've done a few projects under NDA, but they're for some of the world's largest retailers, where you're able to take patio furniture and you're able to take furniture and you're able to put it inside your living room or see how it looks on your patio and then purchase it right within the app. Very similar to IKEA's app that you may have seen, where you're able to place furniture. So we did this
Yeah.
for one of the world's largest retailers as well.
Right.
So things like that, a lot in marketing, a lot in supply chain, a lot in risk mitigation using AR and VR. Um, And it's created that natural, basically the credibility and the validation we needed to start pursuing some larger enterprise clients, but in the human connection space using AR and VR. And that's where the human resources industry came in, and that's where the genesis of the conference came about.
So where do you find the experience, the reception is strongest? Say with AR, where you can see it in the real world versus VR, where you're in this whole new world. What do you think on the enterprise side, at least? Which kind of the two technologies do you think has the strongest reception?
For us personally, right now, the strongest reception has been from AR. For
Yeah,
us, that and I think that has a lot to do with accessibility to VR headsets. A lot of the people that own VR headsets in today's day and age are gamers, and
yeah,
what we saw from this conference, especially even consumers trying to get some of these headsets, a lot of them are sold out, right? So
yeah.
in terms of accessibility and scale, because AR can be accessed from 3 billion smartphones, I believe, we've seen a lot more success on the smartphone world because it's very natural. It's something that people are using every day, right? Their phone or their tablet, it's in their hands every day. So for them to be able to overlay something onto onto the physical world has been a pretty seamless transition. And then we are starting to see now, as we get more in the VR space, that for very specific use cases and for industries that have the ability to purchase, say, 500 Oculus for business, we're going to be getting deeper into the enterprise solutions. So I think it's got a lot to do with, in terms of scale, AR is more easily adopted, but VR is pretty close behind.
So with these companies you've worked with, you've worked with, like you say, furniture companies, designers, clothing. What companies do you think haven't quite kind of latched onto the tech yet? Maybe what sectors could definitely benefit from this, but you haven't seen any uptake from, and why do you think that is?
Um, I would have said before this event, the sector that could really benefit from it would have been virtual collaborations, virtual meetings. For me, they were happening before, but they weren't, in virtual reality. They weren't as in depth. So I still believe that the virtual networking, remote collaboration, remote events are going to be huge. You still see a lot of people doing this on webinar or on Zoom calls or Google Hangouts calls. You know, and full conferences are being done on different platforms, but people still haven't explored virtual reality as in depth for especially the most important things, which I think are like remote collaboration, being able to do an interview like this, even though me and you are only a city apart. It wouldn't have mattered if you were in LA or New York right now, right? We still would have been able
Exactly.
to do this interview in the same way. And then same with this conference, 57 speakers speaking from, I think, 40 different cities in the world all at the same time. The amount what that would have taken to do before in terms of flights and hotels and Ubers and getting the conference hall, it's that's massive as well. But we have started to see a lot of solutions being developed in a lot of spaces. Especially retails come up big in the last year. Like we said, real estate. We've done some projects for some major automotive manufacturers. So we're seeing it in a lot of spaces. The military and healthcare have obviously been in the industry for a long time, right? So,
Hmm.
but I don't think there's too many industries that haven't been touched yet. But I think there's a lot of industries that have a lot further to go. I call it the Wild West still. There's there's still frameworks are being built, spaces are being built. People are trying to figure out what they're most comfortable with and how they interact the best. So there's a whole wide open virtual world out there that we can
No, it
create and
totally is.
explore.
Nice. So, I mean, again, one of the things I see is, like you said, the access is certainly an issue. Just because I find, at least for me, people that have VR headsets are people that already know about VR. Like, I don't think
Yep.
you're going to go out on a limb, and I mean, some people do. They kind of just try it and see what it's about. But it's quite a big kind of investment to make if you don't know what you're going to use it for. So I think that's definitely one of the reasons why a lot of companies maybe maybe haven't quite seen the benefits of it yet, purely because they just haven't taken that jump to see how it works. So it's interesting. So
Exactly.
a bit of the HR conference and particularly the charitable aspect of this. Tell us about the Virtual World Society and how Genius Ventures is working with them, because this whole thing
Yeah.
done, like as a charitably, basically. Like no one's getting paid for this. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct. So the Virtual World Society is run by Tom Furness, who wants to use immersive technology to drive positive change. And when we go back to the reason I got into this industry, and same with my business partner, was really to provide deeper connection and to connect people in a more meaningful way. And so, same with our partner Matt. He runs a company with a lot of the proceeds going to charity as well. And so we just thought it'd be a natural fit to democratize access to this event. So the best way we thought to do that was, one, make the tickets cheap enough so that most people could attend, $49 and $99, and as well make it free for educators and students. But the biggest thing we wanted to do was use this event to try to make it as big as an impact as possible. So we are donating the proceeds to the Virtual World Society, run by Tom Furness, and where they've been able to do so much already, and we want to see that hopefully with a sizable donation, what more they can do.
Nice. So you talk about access, in improving access to this technology as a result, right? So one of the questions I had was, one of the speakers at the conference is Nick Vujicic. So people who don't know about Nick, he was born with no arms or legs. So how does VR technology work? Obviously, like we're using our hands, we're interacting, we've got our menus here. How can the access be improved kind of beyond just what we're able to work with here? How does someone like Nick operate in this space, and how is the technology set up, or how is it not set up for accessibility options for everyone? Not just people who can use all the interaction buttons and stuff like that. Like how do you see it working?
So as of right now, we had Nick and his assistants help set him up for this conference. But in the future, and they already have it in some iterations right now. Things like voice to text and eye tracking are going to be huge, especially for people with physical disabilities. Right? They're going to be able
Sure.
to do some of the things that they wouldn't be able to do in this world just using their eyes, just using voice commands as well. Right? And so for now, we have an assistant helping out, but as we've seen, he's gonna be up on stage, have an avatar that's speaking to the world in a new way, and then as he develops the technology himself as well, we're all gonna start finding new pathways of how some of the ancillary technologies fit together and how they could help gentlemen like him, um, you know, um, create and collaborate in this world.
Okay. Um, where do you see this technology going? Where do you see it being in 5, 10 years? I mean, I know for as long as I've been working in this industry, you're always seeing people saying like, oh, 5 years time, this is going to be huge. This is going to be huge. And then 5 years down the road, we're sort of stuck in the same situation where, we're still discussing our access and how can we make more people aware of this technology? It seems almost like a kind of, I don't know how to explain it. It's like everyone in the industry is talking about the industry, and so themselves, maybe it seems like, oh, this is going to be huge, it's going to take off, but time goes on, and we sort of see the same thing, the same discussions happening. Like, truly, where do you see VR, AR in 5 years, 10 years? How do you see it progressing, and what's the future of this technology and XR space? What does it look like to you?
So to me, I think this time it's fundamentally different. People have been saying this for a long time, but before
They have.
we were limited by computing power, we were limited by access to the technology. But now, since coronavirus, a lot more people have learned and implemented this technology into their marketing solutions, into their consumer-facing solutions, and especially with events like this, I think it's sped up the runway. But not only that, before when this was being said 5, 10 years ago, the computing power wasn't there, the internet speed wasn't there. The
Sure.
amount of creators in the space weren't there. But now you see things like Spark AR on Facebook. They got thousands of creators already working
Yeah.
in the AR VR space, right? You look at the metrics that Google has achieved in the past 6 months. I think the numbers are just is something silly, just millions of minutes per day, just using the 3D objects they have on their Google search and AR, right? So
Hmm.
since the coronavirus, it's been huge, and not only that, but since things like Web AR have been released, and things like the Spark Studio, and since Lens Studios has been going hard on the AR, it's because
Yeah.
previously the distribution networks weren't there, right? But now the largest distribution networks in the world, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, Web AR. Now these can all deploy immersive technologies, and so now that the largest distribution networks are in place, um, you know, armed with these technologies, I think mass adoption is going to happen much faster. And the thing is, a lot of people don't realize is, when you're using a Snapchat lens, that is augmented reality, and it's something I believe around 50% of Snapchat users use a lens every day, right? And so they are
Hmm.
using augmented reality. And same with the Instagram effects. When you're you're doing a face filter, you're putting something in front of you, it's augmented reality. And so millions, or if not, tens or hundreds of millions of people daily are using augmented reality, but they hear it in the word effects, or they hear it in the word lens, right? And so a lot of people are unwittingly already using these technologies, which is fantastic for the growth of them. And as more people start becoming Lens studio creators and Spark AR studio creators, there's a Web AR creators. Verizon Media has launched their immersive suite as well. So
Mm.
there's a lot of platforms now that brands can create AR and VR experiences on. And so I think this time, when we say where's the industry going to be, I think it's going to be one of the most important parts of our lives in the next 5 to 10 years. The spatial internet is expected to be 100 times larger than the internet. And the dream I have is one day just walking outside wearing my smart glasses and saying, I need an Uber. And it's going to pick up who I am and where I am and what location I'm at and what type of car I prefer. And with 5G and computing and speed and my glasses being my phone, the Uber is going to be there in 2 minutes to pick me up. And that's what I see in 3 or 4 years or 5 years.
Nice. I mean, yeah, I guess for me, it kind of hinges purely on when Apple is going to release their AR glasses. That's kind of how I
Exactly.
see when this just takes off. But
Yep.
no, great. That's cool. So the conference is happening September 8th to 10th. Is that correct?
September
And
8th, 9th, and 10th. Yes.
and how can people attend if they haven't got a VR headset? Can they attend online? How's it going to work?
Yes. So we have the conference in 2D mode as well. So if they do not have a VR headset, they'll be able to attend through YouTube Live for the entire conference and LinkedIn Live for select parts of it. So you can simply buy a ticket and you'll get a link to a live stream room, attend via live stream. And if you do have a headset or a PC that's compatible with AltSpace, then you can attend either via virtual reality or 2D virtual reality on your PC.
Nice. But for those of us with the headsets, it's all being hosted right here in AltSpace.
Exactly. Well, for as long as you can be. For me, I have about I can do about an hour at a time in VR, and so
No,
I'll
I
be
think it's
attending
about the
some of
same.
it in VR and some of it via live stream. Bit of a hybrid.
Sounds good. Well, Nick, thank you very much for your time. I'm looking forward to see you in the conference, and yeah, take care.
Excellent.